Our next guest is brought to you on the Z's Cream and Bean Hotline. He is the assistant head boys basketball coach of the Lima Senior Spartans. They're 28-0, ranked second in the state of Ohio. And coming up, they play Wilmington in the state semifinal in Columbus this Friday. We welcome in assistant head coach Brock Howe to Sports on Tap. And, Coach, thanks for taking time to join us here today.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Now, Coach, Lima Senior, the Spartans are 28-0. Tell our listeners exactly where Lima is at and a little bit about your program.
Well, Lima is it's going to be about halfway between Dayton and Toledo. 63 miles one way, 64 the other. But right along I-35. We're 28-0. We're led by a point guard, about 6 foot tall, Xavier Simpson. He'd be our head coach's son. He averaged about 30 points a game.
Wow.
We just found out about 2 hours ago that he won Mr. Basketball this year. So, that's a huge honor. His cousin is Greg Simpson. Greg Simpson won it 2 years in a row when he was in high school in the early 90s. So some of your listeners may remember him. But he's our point guard. He gets everything going. Like 30, 31 points a game, about 8 assists,
Wow.
4 steals, 4 rebounds. Just does a little bit of everything, but he is our leader. He played at LCC, Lima Central Catholic. They lost in the regionals as a freshman, and then his sophomore year they upset Cleveland Villa Angela St. Joe his sophomore year, and he had 18 points in that game. And then when his dad got the job at Lima Senior, he came over to play for his dad. And last year we were beaten in the regional finals against Lakewood St. Ed. And this year we were able to, we're in the Final Four, and we play Wilmington Friday. Our shooting guard is Jar Ward. He's a junior. He's getting some interest from, some Division I schools, mostly MAC, Youngstown State, some, maybe Cleveland State a little bit, but some smaller D1s. Our three-man, our small forward, Marquavius Wilson, he made honorable mention All-State. He's averaging right around 14, 15 points a game. Sees the floor extremely well. Once he gets a rebound, he's able to take off, go, shoots the three about 45% this year. So he's shooting it really well. And then our post players, I guess they're unconventional. They're both about 6'5". I guess our power forward, his name's Rico Stafford, probably 6'5", 195, but he is Division I track. Michigan, Maryland are a couple of schools that are interested in him. He just went out for track his sophomore year just for fun, and he's running the 400 meters in like 46 seconds.
Wow.
He just flies, and he can jump out of the gym. So, when he's able to get a rebound, he's gone, and he's a high flyer, looks to catch alley-oops and, things like that. And then our center is about 6'5", 190, 195. But he is going to go to Pitt and play football as a wide receiver. So he's got a really good set of hands. I think he's our glue guy. Rebounds the ball extremely well, and I'd say more often than not, he's already outletted the ball before he lands. And he's our glue guy. He can guard all 5 positions, and he's probably one of our most valuable players, besides X, because he can do so much. And then we have our 6th man is Jay Thomas, and Jay Thomas is a freakish athlete. He's about 6'3", 210, and he could play D1 basketball or D1 football, and he chose to play football. He signed to play at Ball State, for like basically being an outside linebacker. But he's a serious leaper, a 2-foot jumper, can catch anything off the rim and throw it back in. And, so he's our 6th man. Then we have a couple, like number 7 and 8 are just our defensive guys. They come in, they're role players, they play extremely hard, really good defenders, and they're both going to go play football. One of them is kind of like one of them scat back type guys you always see in motion, getting handoffs and stuff like that. Runs about a 4.40, but really quick feet. He's about 5'8", but he's really scrappy and can give other point guards fits. And then there are other ones, 6'3", he was the quarterback, and he's going to go play at Trying. So, and then I guess our ninth man is a 6'8" sophomore, and
wow,
he's come a long way. Last year he's hitting the weights really hard. He'll be a Division I defensive end for basically whatever college he wants to go to, because he's special talent. So, but he's still just a sophomore. So we have tremendous athletes, really good kids that work extremely hard. So it's been a lot of fun to be around.
Yeah, and I mean, you did a great job just going over the entire team, and obviously from top to bottom, you just have a lot of great athletes. And you mentioned Xavier Simpson playing for his dad, Coach Quincy Simpson. He was named Co-Coach of the Year. And I noticed on your Facebook page, the reason was he missed one game because of sickness, and you actually filled in and got the win. That's an unbelievable story. He still got Co-Coach of the Year, so that's a great honor, I'm sure, for him. Talk a little bit about Quincy Simpson and the coaching job he's done this year, and for Lima Senior, I mean, this has to be probably one of the best seasons you guys have ever had.
This is correct. Quincy had the flu, and he's a fiery guy, and he started coaching these kids when they were playing midget football, and he's kind of like, he says he was a drill sergeant, just making them extremely hard practices for these kids in midget football, and all the parents are like looking out there like, what is he doing? Doesn't he know they're like 9, 10 years old? Like, he's treating them like they're in college, and but that's all these kids know. It's interesting because I was able to coach with the previous coach for 1 year. He was my varsity assistant coach, and he had some years where he had a lot of success, making it to regionals. Then he had a couple of down years, and he's like, man, I need your help. So I helped him out. We were a little above 500, but I guess it wasn't good enough. And they forced him to resign. So they brought in Quincy, and it's different. I mean, anything he says, it goes, and it's not even questioned. People in the community have his, all the support. I know we've sold almost 3,000 tickets to go down the state this week, and over 3,000 T-shirts at school. I know they ordered 1,000 more T-shirts for tomorrow to be sold at school. It's just unreal the support that we're getting from our community in a small town like Lima. But anything he says goes, and we do. Our kids work extremely hard. We've had, Division I coaches, from Xavier, Michigan, Ohio State, Pitt, the football coaches and stuff like that to come watch our athletes. And they're saying, how hard that we go and practice. And, they're saying, you might get to college and your practices might get easier. And the kids kind of say, really? And kind of look at Coach Q and say, man, you're killing us, and but they don't even question it, and there's a lot of times that we're going at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the kids, they don't care, and a lot of it is because of X, his son.
Yeah.
He is the hardest worker that I've been around, and, I know I've only been coaching for about 10 or 11 years, but, Dakota Mathias that's at Purdue, I've coached him, I've coached, Reggie McAdams, who was at Akron. I've been around other Division I, Division II players, and Dakota had been the hardest worker, but X, he's relentless, and if you're having a bad day, he's going to take the ball and put it in your chest and say, come guard me. Like, you're not having a bad day today. We don't have time for it. Like, come get me. And he goes, I might embarrass you, but it's going to get better, and you're going to get better today. You don't have a choice. You're not, I'm not going to let you sit up against the wall today and pout. It's time to go. And, and he's unreal. Just his work ethic and his leadership. You had said it's one of our better teams. I don't think a Lima Senior team has ever finished a regular season undefeated. They went to state in '92, and I think they had a couple losses then. But I know that 28 wins is the most any Lima Senior team has had, but not all Lima Senior teams got to play a 22-game schedule either. But it's been an exceptional season. Coach Q does a tremendous job. He's the right man for the job because the kids have all the respect in the world for him, and he just does a wonderful job with the kids, and he is hard on them. I mean, he there's no doubt about that. But the kids just take the coaching and they allow him, because they know he cares so much that they just, whatever he says goes.
Yeah, and you guys have continued a perfect season at 28-0. You're in tournament play, in which you beat Lorraine 46-38, and I think that's an interesting game because it's a very low scoring game, but you guys still won. Then you take on a Canton McKinley team who came off a big win against Brunswick, and they won. You go against Canton McKinley, they beat Brunswick, and then you guys beat Canton McKinley 68-61, a little higher scoring game. Talk about your last game against Canton McKinley in the regional final. You guys actually fell behind early to the Bulldogs. It was a physical back and forth game. It seemed like there were big runs by both teams, and you guys were up 51-35 after the third quarter. And one interesting stat that I found in this game was the fact that there were 54 turnovers in this game, and I think that tells me a little bit about the physical play. There were 31 turnovers by Canton McKinley, 23 by Lima Senior. That's a lot of turnovers in a game, but I guess when you have physical play like that, you're going to kind of turn the ball over here and there. What did you think of the game against Canton McKinley, in which you guys had a big 68-61 win?
Yeah, to go just to revisit, you talked about Lorraine. Even in the districts, we struggled to score against Whitmer and Toledo St. John's because that's our third time playing those guys. Mm-hmm. And it was like, they slowed the game up, but all year long we were averaging over 80 points a game. We had broke 100 about 5 times and over 80 12 times. So we want to run up and down the court, but we understood to beat the teams for the third time that knew us so well. We knew they were going to slow it down. Mm-hmm. I think playing Lorraine, we actually thought there's going to be more up and down, and we were going to score a lot. But I think both teams just shot it pretty poorly. And that's what kept it slow. But it was a very physical game. I know that Nas Bohannon had gotten a cut on his face, and he's a really nice player too. He's very physical, and it made it difficult for us to score. Canton McKinley, they got up on us early, but we kind of liked the pace at what it was. We thought we were getting great looks in the paint that just weren't dropping. They were rimming out, and the ball would kind of get batted around. And then, Canton McKinley would come up with a loose ball, and it'd be a 2-on-1 or 3-on-2, and they were scoring. And, and I think, Lapeer hit a big 3 at the end of the first quarter to put them up 5. But we still liked the way the pace was going. We thought, that maybe Davis, kid down low, would get a little tired running up and down the floor. Just to keep pushing the ball up and down the floor. Use our depth because we're comfortable playing 9 kids. And then we were able to, we were forcing turnovers, but a lot of those turnovers that, I think we forced 31 of them, but a lot of those turnovers were ones that you can't score off of, whether it was a travel or the ball getting thrown up into the bleachers or underneath the hoop. It was just like, we really thrive on pressuring the ball and getting steals, and then making that into our offense. But a lot of those turnovers were, kind of just dead ball turnovers that you can't really do much with. But, we felt really good going into the fourth quarter. And then X picks up his 4th foul. And you're like, okay, we're all right. We're up 16, and, Jar Ward had hurt his knee. Marquavius Wilson was asking to come out because he was gassed because it was an extremely physical game. And, we even got back to school on Monday, and, teachers and other kids are going, man, great game. But, man, I think after watching 2.5 minutes, I would have been asking to come out because of how intense of basketball and how the physicality of that game was. It was fun. It was fun basketball to watch. But, kids were asking to come out, and I think, Kent McKinley then put a press on us, caused some turnovers. But, for the year, we're only averaging like 11 turnovers a game, and you're scoring over 80 points a game. So we're thrilled with that. But I think most of our turnovers came with X on the bench because he does such a tremendous job for us just handling the ball that we really didn't have anybody else, handle it, in crunch situations. So, and we're sitting there like, man, we probably should have worked on this earlier in the year. Hopefully we can get through hopefully we can get through this. But, which we were, and that's another thing. We didn't have a lot of close games in the regular season. I think as a staff we were concerned, in a tight game, how are our kids going to respond? And it seems like the closer the game, the closer our kids stick together and really believe in one another. And we shoot free throws horrible all game, but then we make them in when we really need them. And it's been a fun season, and just a group of kids that are relentless.
We're talking with the assistant head boys basketball coach of the Lima Senior Spartans, Brock Howe, as he joined us on the Z's Cream and Bean Hotline, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network. We're Sports on Tap, and Brock, now you go from playing Camp McKinley, a very physical team in which it was nice to see you had Rico Stafford, who had just a game high in points and of 23 in the game, 11 of 12 with 5 rebounds. And it seemed like he really stepped up. Xavier Simpson with 18 points, Markevius Wilson with 11. Now you play a Wilmington team on Friday at the state semifinal, and it's at the Schottenstein Center in Columbus, Ohio. What have you seen so far from Wilmington when you looked at some of the tape?
Wilmington on tape, I don't know how to be politically correct. They don't do anything that just wows you, but you're looking at them and you're going, man, these dudes are fundamentally sound. I mean, they're in the right spots on defense. They take charges. They're very patient on offense. They get a shot that they want. They don't really force anything. I mean, they're very well coached. They run a continued motion. They run some chin action. They're very well coached, and that's just what you notice. It's not like you see. And then they got a really good player named Jaron Cumberland. He's going to go to Cincinnati. He's about 6'5". Draws comparisons to Jimmy Jackson. That's when people talk about him. That's what I hear. But he can really shoot the ball. He can bully you to get to where he wants to go, and then pull up over top of you, or post you up a little bit. So he's probably averaging close to 30 points a game for them. They have a really scrappy guards, that we got to be worried about. They'll press you man to man, send the guy at the ball and make, we're assuming that X will be bringing the ball up the court. They're going to send somebody at X to make him have to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're very well coached. They run some, just that motion offense that's hard to kind of scout against because they're not doing, the same thing every time. You're telling your guys, about sets a lot of times when you're playing against another team, like this guy's going to go here, he's going to screen here, here's how you can play it. With them, it's a flare, it's a back door, it's a curl cut. You really can't tell your kids, like, all right, this is what they're going to do this time. I mean, they might be setting an up screen, then a back screen. That's something that we've been working on this week. We haven't played a team like that. So, but we like our defense. We've been playing really well. I think we held the Reign to 2 for 20 on threes because we were able to close out on their shooters. I think if we can really pressure their guards like we have been able to, create some turnovers, continue to rebound the basketball, and push they only play about 6 or 7 kids. One of their starters, I think he had Tommy John surgery at the end of summer or some point in the summer, and he was wearing a brace. People are telling us that his elbow maybe became dislocated in the last game. They're not sure if he's going to play. That might shorten up the rotation or put somebody else in that, maybe hasn't had to play a lot of minutes for them. But at the same time, it's the state semifinals, and we expect that kid to play. Because that's, the pinnacle of high school basketball, playing at state. So we're expecting that kid to play, and but we're not really going to change what we've done. We're going to continue to do what's gotten us here. By continuing to push the ball up and down the court, rebound, really work on our defense, and that's another thing I'll give Coach Q a lot of props on. You can mess up an offensive play, and he's not worried about that. But if you mess up on defense, man, you're in trouble. I mean, it's not pretty. So, but that's the one thing we got to continue to do is just keep playing hard. And I know our kids will do that. Their goal when we lost to St. Anne's last year was not to get to state; it was to win state. And I think our kids are looking at this as a business trip and not just happy that we're in the state. The Final Four. We have 2 more games, fellas, and but we got to take care of business. I don't think we're looking ahead. It's just everybody's dialed in. It's a neat group of kids to be around.
Yeah, you guys sound like you're ready to go. Is it tough to keep, some of these kids, I'm sure, have been here. Like you said, you played St. Ed's last year, and they want to make it a point to win state this year. Is it tough to keep them focused and not have some of these kids put a lot of pressure on themselves when you get to this point? Because obviously, as you keep winning, the stakes become a little more. They know where they're at. Is it tough to, try to take some of that pressure off them and say, just play your game. We have the depth, and we've beaten some really good teams already. Now let's just focus and relax and have fun out there. Is it tough to tell the kids that and, make sure that the pressure's not there for them?
Not really. A lot of these kids play AAU. When they were in 8th grade, Coach Q took them to Florida, and they won the national tournament down there.
Oh, wow.
So some of these kids have played in big tournaments. Our kids, Lima's different. Our kids thrive on that big game. So the bigger the game, the harder they're going to play, the more in tune they get, the more focused they get. They, when they're doing starting lineups, and Camp McKinley had a loud fan base, and they're doing starting lineups, and Camp McKinley fans are going nuts, and and our kids, I look over and they're all just sitting there like, just calm, ready to go, and I'm like, man, I'm nervous. I got butterflies in my stomach. I'm like, hey, these kids are just chomping at the bit like a dog on a leash. Just let me out. Let's take that leash off so I can run. And I was like, you know what, we're ready to go. And it's and then we had that. There was kind of an incident in warm-ups, with Canton kids kind of running through our warm-ups, and our kids, got a little fired up about that, and because they thought they should have went around, whatever. But just added a little bit more gas to the fire for our kids to, just come out and play a little bit harder. And but I think the hardest part was there was a stretch in the season where we played teams that didn't have very good records, and I think we lost focus a little bit, But it didn't affect the outcome of the game. But I think that was harder to keep them focused for the teams that they probably, they're looking at the record like, oh, they're, 3-12. What are they got? I thought those were harder weeks of practice than, playing at Canton McKinley or Lorraine, or Wilmington. But, I thought that was tough, and that was that actually drew some concerns. Maybe not that they would beat us, but just that we'd start practicing bad habits, and it would carry over to the following week when we played Toledo St. John's or something like that. But our kids, it was kind of like a switch. They were able to turn it back on that week of preparation for Toledo St. John's.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's interesting you said that, because when I looked at your schedule, there weren't, like you said, there were a few close games there, but for the most part, maybe 26 or 25 of them were pretty much blowouts. But, Coach, we appreciate your time today. Good luck against Wilmington in the state semifinal. We'll be watching, and we really appreciate your time here today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me, and, good luck to Garfield Heights and, and Westerville, and also Wilmington. It's going to be a lot of fun.
The assistant head coach of the Lima Senior Spartans, Brock Howe, joining us. And, Coach, thanks for your time, and good luck again.
Thank you.
We're Sports on Tap, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network. That was Brock Howe, the assistant head coach of the Lima Senior Spartans basketball team on the Z's Cream and Bean Hotline. Want to thank him for joining us, and thank you for listening to Sports on Tap, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network. I'm Rob Trautman.